Support comes from Soaring Heart Natural Beds, where concern for the health and safety of sleep now extends to everything from curbside pickup and delivery to secure in-store appointments. Showrooms in Seattle, Bellevue, and now in Edmonds, or online at soaringheart.com.
Hey, good morning. It's Paige Browning in for Patricia Murphy. It's Thursday. This is Seattle Now. Here it comes, the biggest heat wave Seattle's seen in a long time. How does back-to-back 100-degree days sound? And it's the question we're all asking, is this what climate change looks like? We'll get an answer from climatologist Karin Bumbaco in a minute. First, let's get you caught up. Governor Inslee could announce some relief today for renters and landlords who are counting the days until the state's eviction ban expires next week. Seattle just extended its eviction ban by another 3 months, but it doesn't look like Inslee will go that far. He's likely to make some temporary moves just until the state can streamline how it gets assistance to tenants. We'll learn more from the governor later this morning. Another split for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Billionaire investor and foundation trustee Warren Buffett is stepping down. He doesn't mention anybody's divorce in his statement about leaving and says he's still 100% aligned with the foundation's goals. He's given them $27 billion over 15 years. But he's about to turn 91 in August, has slowed down his travel, and has been stepping back from other roles. And remember outdoor concert season? Well, she is coming back, and soon. Mayor Durkan announced a new initiative to revitalize downtown yesterday. One idea, week-long festivals in July and September featuring art installations and concerts. The city's also giving cash to arts and cultural organizations and small businesses. Seattle's putting $9 million into the effort. Private partners will add another $7.5 million.
I feel the heat, yeah. Oh, I feel the heat, yeah. Oh, yeah.
A heat wave. That might be an understatement for what the weather has in store this weekend. Us here in Seattle, we are in for 4 straight days of blazing hot temperatures in the 90s. We could even hit 100 degrees. Yakima and Spokane could hit 115. It's unusual, and it's got us asking how much of this is climate change. Karin Bumbaco is here to help us answer that question. She's the assistant climatologist for the state of Washington. Hi, Karin. Thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here.
So I looked at the forecast map, and I had to take a deep breath. It's all red. What do you see when you look at the heat map for this weekend?
Yeah, it's very concerning. This looks to be like it could be a historic heat wave throughout Washington state and the Pacific Northwest as a whole. Temperatures could get up into the triple digits in Seattle, which is pretty infrequent in terms of the occurrence for the historical record.
And this feels like a big deal. It certainly doesn't get that hot every June, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the historical record at SeaTac Airport, so records began in 1945, so a pretty long record there. There has only been 2 instances of triple-digit weather.
2?
So, yes. So 100 was recorded in 1994, July 20th, 1994. And then there was a 103 recorded on July 29th, 2009. So a couple things to note there. First of all, both of those happened in July. So it's pretty early in the season to see this amount of heat. In addition to that, the duration of this forecasted event also looks to be pretty long in terms of 4 or 5 days in a row of these really warm temperatures. We could even see 2 days in a row in Seattle in triple digits. I'll defer to my National Weather Service colleagues as the, forecast evolves on what actually is going to happen. But when I look at all the red and what I see as of today, it is concerning.
Okay, as if I wasn't freaked out enough looking at that heat map. But really, you said we've hit triple digits maybe a couple of times in history, and they were not in June. And it just feels like, Karin, that summers are getting hotter around here. This weekend is some proof. So I have to ask about how our climate is changing. Are we getting hotter?
We absolutely are. Yeah, temperatures are increasing, maximum temperatures locally, regionally, globally, minimum temperatures as well. So the daytime and nighttime temperatures are, the baseline is warming. Recently, NOAA released their new normals, which is the 30-year period that you compare weather to. And across the whole U.S., temperatures have warmed in that period. So there's no doubt we're getting warmer. A few years back, our office, the Office of the Washington State Climatologist, did some research after the 2009 heat wave where we saw triple-digit temperatures in Seattle. And we defined actual heat events. So, 3 consecutive days of temperatures above the 99th percentile for Western Washington, Western Oregon, went back, looked at the whole historical record. And there are different ways to define heat, of course, but in that study, statistically, we actually didn't see a change yet in the daytime heat waves. After that 2009 event, there was a lot of talk, oh, this is a trend. Those events are so few and far between that it didn't emerge as being statistically significant yet. That research does have to be updated, and it is what we expect to see in a changing climate. But that has not happened in terms of our daytime heat events in this region yet.
So if I'm understanding it right, some of the heat we are seeing and feeling is due to the nighttime temperatures. It's just staying warmer.
Yeah, like in this event upcoming this weekend, it looks like we might reach a record high overnight temperature, which I'm not surprised about at all. I mean, the overall trend of that has been increasing. We're seeing more consecutive days of those being higher. So that, I think, is just inevitable in one of these heat waves to keep breaking those overnight temperature records, which has implications, of course, right? Because, you lose that ability to cool off at night. Seattle metro area, I believe, only has about 34% of households have any sort of air conditioning. So we really rely on that cooling at night that would historically happen even if you get warm days.
If I'm a person looking at the forecast and wanting to say, okay, this weekend, this is a climate change event, is that the way your office sees it, or is that oversimplified?
I think that's oversimplified. So I've thought a lot about the answer to this. So that's the $1 million question, right? Is this climate change? And I really think, in a changing climate, we do expect to see more of these types of heat waves. And increasing greenhouse gases are very likely to play a role in this upcoming event. We're just at the point where the temperatures are warming. It's because of greenhouse gases. As that baseline rises, it plays some role. We won't know exactly the extent of the human component until an official attribution study is done. But in my view, it's a safe assumption to at least blame increasing greenhouse gases for some portion of this upcoming event.
Okay. We'll wait and see what the models show after the fact.
And I will add here that even though in that study where we looked at daytime heat waves and we didn't see a trend in them yet, it's only a matter of time before I think that trend becomes evident. By nature, extreme events are hard to do a trend analysis on just because there's so few events. 2015, for example, had the record number of days above 90 in Seattle, so 12 days above 90. On average in summer, if you look at the long-term record, we only have about 3 days above 90.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And one day of 95 plus with about half the record of the historical record at Seattle not having any days above 95. So, pretty rare. But, 2015 was really warm. 2018 had 11 days of 90 plus. So I think as we start to head into these decades, that trend is really going to emerge as being significant.
The normal sort of saying in Seattle is summer doesn't really start until after the 4th of July. That can't be true anymore, right?
Yeah, so I always had an issue with that statement because if you look at the historical climate averages, you see a very large drop in the probability of precipitation actually on July 11th. So it's not quite the 4th.
The 4th was even too early.
Right. I'd always argue that that was the 11th. But on a more serious note, we do expect to see longer seasons, so an earlier start to summer. Like, for example, our snowpack builds in the mountains. April 1st is typically that peak snowpack, and we expect that warmer temperatures are going to cause earlier melting of that. And it's just kind of a little bit of a shifting of our seasons to where by the end of the summer, there won't be quite as much stream flow as we would expect because it started the melt earlier, warming happening a little earlier too, as we move into the future.
Shorts and sandals season's going to start a little earlier as we move into the future. And it's just going to be dry in late summer. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah, one thing to say, that with a lot of the talk about new normal and is this going to be every summer, is just the caveat that even though we are seeing this extreme heat early in the season this year, that certainly doesn't mean that the summer of 2022 is also going to be a scorcher. There's a recent example of the summer of 2019 was actually pretty moderate in terms of our summer temperatures. There were only 2 days above 90. So just the caveat that we're seeing this here now, but not necessarily every summer from here on out we're going to see this kind of heat, though in general it will become more common.
Okay, that gives me some peace, actually, that I still live in Seattle. I don't live in the desert where it's hot all the time.
Right.
All right, well, I will leave it at that. I've been speaking with Karin Bumbaco, who is the assistant climatologist for the state of Washington. Thanks, Karin.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Seattle Now. If you learned something, maybe share this episode with a friend. And you can always leave us a review. Love those. Jason Pagano produced today's show. Our production team is Clare McGrane, Caroline Chamberlain Gomez, and Diana Opong. Matt Jorgensen does our theme music. I'm Paige Browning. See you tomorrow.